It's the Montessori Power Hour. I'm David Hargis.
And I'm Aubrey Hargis. And today we've got an exciting show for you, all about helping children overcome the fear of the dark. We're going to do this by talking about some really fun activities that you can do with your children at home. We'll talk about the beauty of the northern lights, and we're going to dip a little bit into our cave theme and talk about blind cave fish, so stay tuned for that. But to start off, being afraid of the dark is something that essentially all children experience at one time or another, given that they have typical sight ability. Okay, but this is something that may start to kind of get really, really intense during different developmental stages, and it can kind of subside. So you might actually, some parents are surprised to find that their toddler has no fear of the dark. You know, some toddlers just don't. And that their children are perfectly fine going in and out of dark rooms. And then all of a sudden, they get to be around age 3.5 or 4, 4.5, and then suddenly absolute sheer terror, right? Or sometimes that doesn't maybe happen until they're even closer to the second plane. Sometimes they're even like 6 and 7, and suddenly it just strikes fear of the dark. So it's, first off, to anyone who's watching, if your child is suddenly, wasn't afraid of the dark and then suddenly becomes afraid of the dark, or if you have a child who has never been afraid of the dark, just know that it's normal that this kind of sudden fear can happen. And when you think about it, it's pretty natural for us as human beings to have some anxiety about the dark, don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, we lived without electric lights for almost the entirety of our existence. They're really, really new when you think about like the whole timeline of human life or all life for sure. And of course we had firelight and gaslight and things like that, but it's a very different kind of glow than the electric light, and much more challenging to harness compared to like flipping a switch. And even for a long time, before modernity in any way, like you just sort of were, maybe the moonlight might be your greatest source of light at nighttime.
But it can be really, really bright.
Well, it can be if you live in an area where there aren't any street lights and house lights and things.
Exactly. I was thinking about the times that we've gone camping, which reminds me we did a whole theme only on camping like last year, right?
Yeah.
It was great. So a lot of our families got to go and camp and do those activities and experience the moon, and a lot of us had that overwhelming, especially those of us from the city, had that overwhelming kind of epiphany or awareness, like, moonlight actually can be really, really bright. In fact, when you step out of your tent, when you're camping, if you're used to living in the city where the moon is obscured, or you can just...
all that light pollution.
The light, I remember one time I walked out of the tent during one of the first times we went camping at night, and the sky was clear, and the moon was a full moon or near full moon. It was either completely full or close to full. But it was so bright that I was disoriented because I could see the entire campground around. I didn't need a flashlight to get to the bathroom. I just walked out of the tent and I was like, and then I actually started to wake up a little bit because because the light was so bright, and so it was almost tricking me. And I had this feeling like, oh, this must be what ancient people felt a lot. When they woke up at night, sometimes the moon was really, really bright. So maybe, how they say evolutionarily, not all of us are wired to just sleep throughout the entire night.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a part of me wonders, like, if the brightness of the moon kind of woke people, allowed people to wake up and have a little nighttime activity.
Yeah, it actually makes me wonder, and this, for those of you who are watching along, this kind of I wondering exactly the kind of thing you want to model with your children and encourage. Because what I'm wondering now is we have so many stories and myths about the full moon, like
Yes.
the scary full moon fever.
And the scary new moon where it's really dark.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about the big bright full moon and the werewolves and things like that.
Yeah, that too.
But you can see better at night. I wonder what it is about a big bright moon. Is it just, was that a modern thing that was invented like as part of a filmmaking because it's more dramatic? Or was there something sort of strange about seeing a big bright moon because it disrupted our sleep? I know when we're sleeping, sometimes it on a full moon, on those rare nights when there's no fog at all, it can be very bright in our bedroom. And
streams right in through the curtains even.
That's right. So I wonder, it's curious. Now, of course, the new moon would be logical to me because it'd be very dark. But
yes. Well, I think there's a lot of
curious.
mystique around the new moon too.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a witchy way, right? Which is appropriate for the season that we're in as we are coming up to Halloween. These are all great things to talk about with your child. But I will say that even as adults, like when I see a dark space and I don't know where the light switch is, I feel that pitter patter in my heart, like that anxiety of, what if I can't find my way around? And in fact, just the other night, I was gathering my things from our studio here, which is downstairs, and all the lights were turned off. I had forgotten to light my way back upstairs. And so when I turned off the final light downstairs, it was really, really dark, and I actually did trip over something. Now, I didn't trip all the way over and fall on my face, but I did bump into something as I was trying to walk across the room. And I was like, oh yeah, there could be stuff here in my way. And I felt that little heart pitter patter of like, what if I trip? What if I fall? What if there's something down here that I don't know about? Like creepy crawly things.
So as an adult, we still feel that anxiety.
We do.
And so for kids, it's totally logical that they would develop that anxiety. Is there anything we can do about that?
Well, the Montessori approach would say that almost always the key to helping children overcome any fear, or any adult as well, comes through knowledge. And so, some of these things are going to be developmental, and of course they need a secure, loving environment. Definitely don't send your child into the dark room on purpose and, create a traumatizing experience. Like, acknowledge the fear and be compassionate and loving and empathetic. That's definitely a part of it. But in Montessori particularly, we would allow the child to explore the subject. And so we did this back when we did our theme about spiders, when we did web last year for Halloween. You remember that? We did a whole October theme all about spiders. It was probably the hardest theme for me personally to write. Because I do not that creepy crawly feeling from me when it comes to that particular arachnid is really, really strong. But I have to say that even those of us who have a particular kind of anxiety about certain creepy crawlies, when you do start to learn some of the amazing facts about these creatures, you can't help but have that sense of wonder and awe and kind of excitement as, when you're learning something new.
Yes.
So we can do the same thing for the fear of the dark that we do for fear of really anything else kind of in the world. It's through that education that we reveal the reality, So we're not going to talk about all of the amazing things that you can learn from a study of light and dark.
Too many.
So much.
Too many.
Okay.
It goes back to the very beginning.
I know all of our Ellie members right now are like cheering for that first great lesson, the origin of the universe, right? And there's so many great lessons there. But we're actually going to bring to life a couple lessons. Now, we have been noticing there is actually an event in our world that has happened a couple times in a big way recently.
Yeah, it's the Northern Lights. So many of you who are with us here in the Northern Hemisphere have been treated to something very special recently, and that is a view of the Aurora Borealis, more probably commonly known as the Northern Lights. And the Northern Lights are, and their cousins to the south, the Aurora Australis, or the Southern Lights. They light up the sky with this beautiful bright neon colors, and they seem to shimmer and dance. And they're caused by this really amazing natural phenomenon, which is that there are storms on the sun.
Yeah.
And those storms send out particles to the earth. So here's the sun, and there's all this kind of activity, these solar storms, the sun storms, and they send out particles. And when those particles encounter the atoms in our atmosphere, it causes this light display, or what looks like a light display to our eyes.
So we're actually seeing the sun's particles reflected in our atmosphere.
Exactly. So the aurora borealis, this really beautiful phenomenon, is a result of this other amazing phenomenon, which are these solar storms. Now, usually you have to be pretty far north or south to see them because they are heaviest, they're most prominent in the poles, right? The aurora borealis or the aurora australis at the bottom. But in the last few weeks, there have been a few events where you could see these northern lights further south, even as far as Texas, which is amazing. I grew up in Texas, and my family, a lot of my family still lives there, and like the idea of seeing the northern lights was just impossible. But I was going to share a photo here. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick.
I so wanted to see them. Unfortunately, we were blanketed with fog. As usual.
Oh, no, I don't have that one. So my sister snapped a shot of the aurora from her front yard in central Texas.
Oh.
And it's very faint, but it's indeed the aurora borealis. Now, here in San Francisco, we were not able to see them, even though we're further north than her.
We have a lot of light pollution here in the city.
Well, that's not the reason. It's because of another natural phenomenon, which is the coastal fog.
Yeah.
And we live on the coast, very more or less right on the water, so it's very, very foggy where we live, and we weren't able to see them. But many of our members were, and this I do have a picture of. Let me share this. Look at this. Isn't this awesome? I don't know if this member is with us live. I know she shows up a lot. If you are, we are so happy that you shared this with us. And she had shared this in the community, and she added a note. She says, there have been many reports of northern light activity lately that I was starting to get frustrated because I couldn't see them. Even friends who live nearby would send pictures and tell me to go outside. My son and I, don't rub it in. My son and I would run out, but we couldn't see a thing. Tonight, my sister in Ontario and my best friend in Scotland. Oh, hey, Tedley, you're right here. Perfect. Saw the northern lights. I figured tonight was a good chance as any, so we found an open field in the city with fewer lights around. We went out when the sun set and just waited. I was so excited to share this experience with Theo, your son, as he knows how badly I've been wanting to see the northern lights. He kept saying, "Wow, am I imagining this or am I seeing this for real?"
I would be feeling the same way. Isn't that stunning? I gazed when she shared this photo. I just gazed at it for like a full 5 minutes. David knows this.
Yeah, it's amazing, for sure.
It's so gorgeous and such an incredible opportunity to get to share this kind of this natural phenomenon with your child. Now, I know there are a lot of you out there, just like me, who are super jealous. Please know that everyone has access to natural phenomenons of one kind,
even if it's not the
another,
northern lights,
right? You might not be able to see the northern lights where you are, but no doubt you're going to see the effect of the wind or the Earth's natural forces in some way, right?
Absolutely.
And the power of the sun is accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled around, I've lived in different places, and wherever you are, there's always something amazing about the natural world that's unique to that place. So growing up in central Texas, we didn't have the northern lights. We didn't have a lot of snow and things like that either, but we had the most beautiful sunsets because of the particular way that the shape of the earth at that spot and the dust and the things that were in the air. And they're just they're so beautiful.
Yeah, we still...
The big sky, it's just
having
amazing.
moved out of Texas and being out for several years, every time we go back to visit family, I'm still just stunned by the sky.
Yeah, or the immensity of the storms. Or when we lived in the Washington, D.C. area, the seasonal change was so dramatic. It was like picture book dramatic. Mm-hmm. So wherever you live, you will find something amazing to celebrate. Now, if you're jealous, if you are like our friend Tedley After, but did not have the joy of going out and taking a photo. There is an alternative, and we are here to share that with you. This actually comes from one of our past themes called Frozen, which if you are in our unlimited plan or in our complete curriculum and you're watching this, you can get this activity along with the entire Frozen pack right now. It's in the library. I think it was from January 23. So just head to the Constellation page and you'll find this pack, including this activity right there.
Yes. Okay, so this here we're going to share an activity that you can do with your child. So whether you're able to see the Aurora Borealis or Australis in person or not, doesn't matter. It's still an amazing thing to get to study with your child, and it's a way to bring a sense of awe and wonder to the illumination that can happen in the darkness. Because if I'm not mistaken, usually we might be able to see the northern lights when it's still fairly dark outside. Yeah, I've heard early morning is a great time to possibly see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have here actually on the cover of our Frozen packet picture of the northern lights right there with some mountains in the background. And you want to just pop in here and see if you can find that lesson for us?
I certainly will.
Great. And then we're going to share an activity that you can do as a follow-up.
Yeah, while I'm looking here, it's called Aurora Pastels. We have a good question here. Real Long Magic asks, do you recommend doing 2 themes in 1 month? That's probably going to be too many activities to try and squeeze in. So a lot
of our members combine theme activities.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
If you're following along with Cave and there's something that's just not hitting the mark, or you want to swap it out for this instead, that's totally fine. Or you want to scale back on one of the foundational lessons to work this one in, because this lesson, this Aurora Pastels, will cover the foundationals as well. Then that's also a way that you can kind of put it in. But I would say trying to do 2 full themes in 1 month, it's just too much. You want the child to be able to absorb and kind of practice more.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want to see top down?
Okay, so let's go to top down and let's demonstrate this activity. This is one of 2 fantastic activities that we're going to show you today.
That's better.
That has to do with the dark.
Let there be lights.
This one is very simple, super fun. All I've got here is a piece of black construction paper and some soft pastels. Any kind of pastels or colored chalk will do. This is just a generic kind that I ordered online, but they work really well. You can see they've got vibrant colors, and so what we're looking for in this activity is some colors from this set that represent the colors of the actual northern lights that we might see in photos.
That's right.
I'm wondering if you is it possible to go put the picture that Tedley Ever After shared with us in the little screen so that we can see a picture of the northern lights?
Well, let's see.
Or maybe we could flip back real fast.
We could definitely flip back real fast.
Okay, let's flip back real fast, identify our colors, and then we'll move forward with the activity.
All right, yeah.
Okay, so just name some colors that you see.
Well, I definitely see pink.
Okay, I'm going to grab our pinks.
And like a blue-green teal or something.
A blue-green teal, got it.
And there's a lot of like bluish grays and some lighter, almost yellowish, whitish. There's a lot of like green highlights.
Some green highlights?
Yeah, and kind of a purpley violet or something.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And anything else that you're seeing?
No, I feel like that's pretty good.
That's a good array. Okay, let's switch
back
and see.
All right, here's what we have pulled.
Yeah. Okay, let me pop these on here so you can kind of see.
Now, if you're not fortunate enough to have your own photo of the aurora, you can definitely find lots of them online. You can even find one on the cover of this Frozen book, but there's no right or wrong.
Right. Okay, so we've got our aurora colors chosen. So if you're working with a child, you're going to kind of just put your regular set to the side and you will just give them the colors that you have picked out to represent your aurora for them to use. All right, does that make sense? And you're kind of helping your child to streamline down their vision. So this, just, go ahead and just set that aside wherever. And I would just put these in like a little tray or in a little basket or bowl. Yeah, for your child to use specifically. Okay, so what do we do first? You want to kind of take me through the activity a little bit?
Yep. So, after you've looked at the photo and thought about it, either the borealis or the australis, and maybe there's a way that you could print this out or you could put it up on a screen like we did so they can continue looking at it. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do always when you're giving these kinds of lessons is you're going to discuss kind of scientifically what it is you're seeing. So in this case, you're going to say that the northern lights, the aurora borealis, and the southern lights, the aurora australis, are very famous. They light up the sky with bright neon colors and seem to shimmer and dance in the darkness. Storms from the sun send particles of energy toward Earth. When those particles encounter the atoms in our atmosphere, they light up. We're going to use some art supplies to make our own auroras that show up on dark paper.
Perfect.
Okay. So kind of like we described at the beginning of our own segment, you're going to just kind of describe what's happening to kind of spark the imagination and tie back to this phenomenon, this natural phenomenon. Okay, so number 2 is you're going to take the black construction paper and you're going to draw a wavy mark in a brightly colored pastel using the images you collected as a reference.
So let's see. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing some pinks. So I'm just gonna kind of make some wavy lines here of pinks. Okay, and maybe some different colors of the pinks. Maybe a little bit like this. Okay. And then a little bit of purple up here.
Okay. Yeah, so brightly colored, wavy marks.
Beautiful.
Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a small piece of fabric or a paper towel and you're going to wrap it around the tip of your pointer finger and you're going to make an upward motion, fanning the colors up from the original marks. This makes the aurora look like it is glowing.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to add a little more green in here so that we have a very vibrant image. And I'm not trying to make mine look just like Laura's, but I'm just gonna put a lot of color on this page, kind of concentrate some of it in certain areas. Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
All right, so here I go. So I'm gonna take my finger, do this with my finger, and I'm just gonna make some upward motions. Ooh, that is working so well. Can you see it?
That's beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous? It's really satisfying too. You want to do a little bit?
Yeah.
You have to bring us a tissue. Very lightly. Yeah, just really, really lightly. Just kind of brush upwards to leave the wavy lines. Beautiful.
That's really neat, huh?
Isn't that cool? Yeah. It's kind of addictive, actually.
It is. It is.
Just like, I want to keep going with that. But yeah, can you see, friends, kind of how it's smearing a little bit? The more I touch it with my finger, the more it starts to kind of represent the northern lights. And your picture doesn't have to be done at this point. You can continue when you see, like, maybe you're like, oh, I actually need a little more over here. Maybe make it a little greener, or I didn't add enough blues, so I want to add some more blues in. You can do that too.
You can see one of Tedley's pictures there.
Oh, beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay, so obviously this doesn't look exactly like an aurora borealis or australis, but I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool art activity to represent it. And something that I was thinking too, from one of the photos that she gave us, was there's actually some background. And so if you wanted to, I'm just gonna wipe this on my jeans down here before I pick up the white. But if you wanted to, I noticed that in one of her photos, she actually had some little row houses, in the foreground. And so you could, if you wanted to, kind of have some fun. Probably should have done this part first, right?
Yeah.
You can draw some scenes in the background. Do you see what I'm doing?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's just kind of fun. All right.
Yeah, and you got. Yeah, I love. Yeah, so
Right?
yeah, I like this one because this was my favorite of the two.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
Because
right?
it not only does it show the how much fun he's having, but also it gives a real sense of scale and putting in. And this actually goes with if you're studying art, which is actually what this lesson calls to, but obviously also physical science. But this idea of like foreground and background, these are things that you'll study, especially in lower L, but even in the primary years, you'll start thinking about the composition of images.
Yeah.
And so I love that this has a foreground, and actually it has a foreground, a midground, and a background in the original photo. And how much that really changes.
There's some trees back there too that would be kind of fun to kind of.
I love how this changes the whole look of your artwork by adding in this foreground. That's very nice.
I love it.
I do too.
Love it, love it, love it. So fun. I know. Now I just want to sit here and do this relaxing piece of art. So fun.
Well, it's a good one.
All right. Beautiful. So I hope, friends, that this gives you, one fun activity to do with your child that has to do with the Northern Lights, whether you physically can see them or not. It's just fun. Play with your background, play with your different colors. I know that our friends in our community back during when we were working on the Frozen theme together, we're having a lot of fun with this particular activity.
It's a good one, and it's good for the season as we're coming into winter. For those of you who live in areas where, in the Northern Hemisphere, where it's going to start to get snowier and icier over the next several months, it's fun to play with those things as well and kind of get a visual representation. But even if you grew up in a place that's warm like I did, it's still awesome. I remember very clearly wanting to see the Northern Lights in the worst way. When I was a kid, I just really, really wanted to see them. And I actually did not see them until I was a grown-up. And I know I've told you this story before, but in a prior life, I had a job that required me to travel quite a bit.
I do.
Yeah, and there were some nice things about that, and many things that were kind of not so nice, including being apart from the family all the time.
I know.
But one of the things that I did get to see was the Northern Lights from the air. We were flying over the North Pole, I guess, on our way. I think I was going to India. And the route takes you over the top of the earth, the pole, and it was looked out and just watched for a long, long time. It was so incredible, and so it really, it was like not only was it an amazing fulfillment of this dream that I had, but just sort of the awe-inspiring. It lived up to its reputation as a wonder. So. Go and find your own wonders. I'm sure they are out there somewhere, wherever you might. Oh, well, hello.
Hello, it's Mr. Bunny.
That's me. Well, did you pop in for a reason? Oh, I'm always hopping around. Oh, okay. Well, it's good to see you again, Mr. Bunny. Oh, yes. I have brought something very special too. Oh, you did. Yeah. What do you? Is it a carrot? No. We like more than carrots, We can have other kinds of friends. Yes? Well, what is this? Hold on. He's a little shy. Come on. It's okay.
Who is it? I have to know. Oh, my goodness. This is a very big friend.
Wow! Oh, this is my friend, Harry the giant fish.
Did you say Harry?
Yes, I did.
Hi, Harry.
It's an ironic name.
is an ironic name.
Now, he's came here to tell us a very important story.
Oh.
Okay. Are you ready, Harry?
I'm certainly ready.
Okay, let's hear it.
Did you know that the world's biggest fish is larger than the Empire State Building?
I don't...
What?
That doesn't seem right.
No. It's true. The world's biggest fish is bigger than the Empire State Building.
I think... Wait a minute. Is this a fish story?
Yep, it's a big fish story.
You know what, Harry?
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's the last time I bring you in.
That is a really tall tale.
It's a very tall tale. A very big fish story, in
fish.
fact. The big fish. Well, I want to thank you all for visiting, and thank you to Harry. Bye. Wow. I don't believe that Harry... I don't think that's accurate.
I don't think there was a hair on Harry.
There was neither hide nor hair on Harry, nor were there any truth to that story. I'm pretty sure it was just a tall tale, aka fish story.
A fish story.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed our visit from our friends. If you did, come back next week. I suspect they might be back. At least some of them will. And if you'd like to have more fun with us, why don't you join us over at childoftheredwoods.com, where you can get Frozen and all the great activities, including the one we just previewed, plus the one we're about to share with you, which is from Cave. And you can even get a free trial if you want to try it out before you buy it. And that's over on our website, childoftheredwoods.com. And if you're a member already, we love you so much. Thank you for joining us. Invite your friends. We have a lot of fun in the community. It's better with friends. So we want to see you there. You can reach us at hello@childoftheredwoods if you have questions, or you can reach us on our, what's it called, a chat. We have a chat feature on our website you can ask about. And we are happy to explain all the benefits you get from joining our little family.
Thank you. All right, Montessori friends, let's talk about something that will literally change the way you and your child experience food. Okay?
Ooh.
I want you to imagine stepping into a restaurant, but instead of looking at the menu, deciding what you want to order, and then seeing the food brought to your table, you are left completely, as soon as you walk in the door, to rely on all your other senses other than sight. Okay, but no
Whoa.
vision. It's actually a real thing. It's called dark dining.
Yes.
And you can pay a lot of money for it, or you can DIY the experience for free in your own home and have the same amazing experience. All right? And all you need in order to do that is the blind fish, the blind cave fish activity from our latest theme, Cave. So welcome to Cave, friends.
Welcome to Cave! Now, if you are following along, this activity is actually from week 2. If you are in our community and you are using our card, you'll find this in the week 2 card, along with some other goodies. And I think you'll find this one a lot of fun if you haven't tried it yet. I know actually a lot of folks in the community have given a spin.
Okay, so we've got several resources here to share with our friends. But do you want to first give them an introduction to the blind cave fish? And I'm just going to cut this out. So don't switch back yet. Keep keep this view on. But just give me a sec to cut this out, because this is one of the resources that our friends would use.
So blind cave fish are a real thing. They're fish that adapted to life in dark caves by losing their eyesight and developing heightened senses of touch and smell. And they navigate and find food in complete darkness. Now, all you folks out there, as you're thinking about this, especially if we have a whole lot of little friends out there, can you imagine where else you might find creatures like the blind cave fish that evolved to not use their eyesight? There's no
Where
right
is it?
answer.
Yeah, where could it be really, really
There's
dark?
other places where it might be very, very,
Other
very
than a
dark.
cave.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Maybe something to go research.
absolutely.
All right, right now I'm cutting out one of the cards that is inside our cave.
Because even though it's called blind cave fish, the activity is called blind cave fish, it's actually
This is actually the Mexican tetra fish that we're featuring.
but actually this activity is about all kinds of creatures that live in caves that don't use their sense of sight.
Yes. So what we have is, this is actually from a different activity. But I
Also
thought,
in the pack, though.
Also in the pack. And so one of the beautiful things about our constellation thematic, our theme packs, is that you can use the knowledge that you learned from one of the activities and then connect it to another activity. And you can also, sometimes we cross-pollinate the cards. So we might give you certain cards for one activity, and then you can reuse them for a different activity in a way that enhances the learning. And so that's actually what we're doing here. So here we have, this photo actually comes with the blind cave activity inside the theme pack. But this actually comes with a different activity where we're having children create their own caves at home and learn about all of the creatures that they might find in a cave.
Many of which don't use their sense of sight.
Many of which don't use their sense of sight. And so here we have, I don't know if our friends can see, but we have an example of some cutouts of some of these cave creatures. And so for this activity, I am just going to, just because we're connecting these different activities, I'm just going to cut out this little blind cave fish.
Yeah, now we
Show
gave
our
these.
friends how you might do an activity
Sometimes
like this
we
first.
like to provide these in like photo form. Sometimes we like to color them. But a lot of times, like this one, we like to provide them as line drawings because we know a lot of folks love to color them themselves.
And I'm going to demonstrate just a little bit. We actually really love watercoloring around here too. So good for developing their fine motor skills. It's accessible and pretty easy for just about every child, especially when children are very young, they can get really caught up in perfectionism because they can't draw or color as well as a parent. And I know some of you are out there and this is probably triggering you right now. You're like, oh, this is what my child does. Okay, I mean, I hear it all the time. All right, so one way that you can take a little pressure off the coloring perfectionism is to give your children different art experiences that actually encourage them to be messy, like the Aurora Borealis activity, where all we're doing is just making waves on the paper and we're using our finger to smudge them, right? So it helps to alleviate the perfectionism. So watercoloring is actually another way that you can help your child alleviate that perfectionism. And I'm ready for you to do the top down because I want to show our friends what they might choose to do as an alternative activity with these materials that we have provided.
Yeah, because
here
I
at
think
home.
these came with the one where we make our own cave. Is that right?
Yes.
So there's another activity in there where I think that comes in week 3, where you're going to craft a cave, you're going to make your own little cave, and you're going to decorate it. But I love what you're doing here. I hadn't thought about this
Yes.
before, where you're combining these different pieces.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
great.
so I'm going to give this to you.
All right.
And you're going to find the blind cavefish activity in there for our friends.
Blind cave fish meal.
And the blind cavefish meal. And I am going to get out some materials that we're going to use for this combined art lesson / sensory deprivation meal.
Yeah, so this
experience
is,
at home.
we are categorizing this primarily under the sensorial of the 10 subject areas. Like all of our lessons, that is just one of the ways it aligns, as you're going to see here. But when we create a constellation lesson, we like to think about what's one for sure that it meets to. In this case, sensorial, as you're going to see very clearly. You're going to
Okay.
need your Mexican tetra photo card. You're going to need a blindfold, a spoon, some appetizers,
You know,
main
I'm
course,
actually not going to do a
etc., etc.
spoon this time.
Ooh, finger
we're going to
food.
use fingers, and so you're going to probably need to go and just wipe off your fingers before. Yes, probably going to want to wipe off your fingers. But yeah, let's do this. Okay, so first you're going to talk to your child about the Mexican tetra. You can see in this lesson we give you scripting so that you'll have all the information that you need in order to share this information. And yeah, so they can, it's just very, very easy to read, and that's what the picture looks like when you cut it out. If you are doing the art activity in combination, earlier in the week or during a different activity, you and your child learned about the blind cavefish already.
That's right.
Or maybe they were planning on learning about it next, for whatever order you and your child decide to go in.
That's right.
But whatever way is fine. So here I have a definition about blind cavefish, and I actually have a blind cavefish here. And what I want to do is I want to demonstrate a little bit of gluing, a little bit of watercoloring, as you might do it with your child to kind of extend the activity, and then we're going to do our sensory deprivation meal.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. So I've got a card that says blind cavefish, and I actually have a picture, a line drawing of a blind cavefish. Turn our little light on there.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do here is I would glue it to the paper because we're kind of, you can also have a blind cavefish. You can have another printout, with a separate work. You're just going to print out another copy to combine it with this activity. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a little edge gluing.
Okay.
I love edge gluing. I think it's something that's not talked about often enough. The way we do gluing in Montessori is a little bit different. We like to glue with a paintbrush.
You mean you don't just like squeeze the bottle and make it giant?
No, it's like it makes a big mess, and then you can't really work with the material afterwards.
Oh,
so,
what?
so this is a method where you're actually going to be able to do your gluing and your watercoloring really in one sitting, as long as you don't use too much glue.
Now,
So-
I'm going to tell you as you're preparing this that
Yes.
I wish I had known about edge gluing when I was a kid, because I would just put too much glue in on the back of something, and then there'd be like a bubble of glue.
I know.
And you'd smoosh it down, and then it would like poke a hole through the item you're gluing
And it would take
down.
2 days to dry.
And I'd be really upset, like, oh, it doesn't look right. It's all messed up now. So glue sticks are great, but you don't need a glue stick. This is actually better.
This is actually really good. So I'm actually just going to take my little paintbrush, get a little bit of glue on it, and then I'm going to use the paintbrush to just go right on the edges and kind of paint it on in a very thin layer. And it ends up being a thin layer similar to how it would be with a glue stick. But the benefit of this is you're helping your child with their pincer grip, their 3-finger tripod grip, which is going to help them with pencil skills later on. And I'm just going around the
It's also good for that
edges.
hand-eye coordination. They're kind of trying to follow along the edge.
Yeah, without getting on the paper.
Yep.
Yep. All right, so now I've got some glue on my card, and I'm just going to put this right up here at the top, wherever I choose. And I'm going to lightly press
I
it
love
down.
this. Yeah.
And then, I know it kind of looks a little bit schoolish, doesn't it?
No,
So-
it does. It reminds
Yeah.
me of a poster project that our
Yeah.
oldest son just did.
And then I'm going to take my blind cavefish. I'm not coloring it yet, although you could color it first if you wanted to, but I'm going to be watercoloring mine. So I actually want to do the little bit of gluing first before I do the watercolor. So I'm going to take my glue again. I'm going to paint it around the edges, and I'm working pretty fast because I'm an adult. Expect your child for it to take a little bit longer, for them to be a little messier while you're doing it. If they are worried about getting the glue on the paper, provide a tray for them to have that underneath, and that will really help. And what do I have my glue in here? Can you tell? It's
Looks like just a little cap.
it's just
like
a
a
little
water bottle cap or something.
Yeah, so if you have a little toddler, obviously supervise if you're using a small material like this. If you have an older child who's not mouthing, it's perfectly fine to use these little containers. Okay, here we go. So now I've got my glue on, And normally my procedure would be to go and wash my glue brush right away in the sink, but I'm going to go ahead and glue my blind cave fish, my Mexican tetra. Now, as I'm doing this, like, I want to glue more. Like, I kind of wish I had printed out, like, right? Looking at it, kind of wish I had printed out.
Where's my millipede?
More of them, yeah. I know.
Oh, you mean more fish?
More fish or more
yeah.
animals, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
this is exciting. This is really fun to me, and I hope that those of us who are members in our community, who know that this particular activity isn't actually inside the cave book, it's an extension from it. I hope that you are watching and also learning and excited by this. So the second thing I'm going to do after I've taken care of my glue, let's say I've taken my glue, washed my glue brush, and now I'm ready for the painting. What I have done here is I've taken a little cup and I've put just a couple drops of red liquid watercolor in there. You could also use red food dye, just a couple drops and a little bit of water. You want to mix it until, for the blind cavefish, because I looked this up, blind cavefish, the Mexican tetra, is actually kind of a pinkish cream color. So it doesn't need to be too colorful. We can look at it, you can see it's a little bit pink.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, I think, probably on the camera. Oh,
Our picture makes it look a little bluey purple.
But yeah, there is actually...
When I looked at more pictures online, it's listed as being like a faint pink. So I don't even know if our friends who are watching, I don't even know if you can see the pinkness here. It may just look as though it's white, but I can see that I'm watercoloring a little bit and it's just like turning it a little bit pink. All right. Yep. And then when that dries, it'll be very faintly pink. It'll be lovely. You can also, if you're doing pink and your child wants to watercolor anything else, you can also watercolor that little fish there. And then what I'm really wanting to do, normally I would have the child use a little drying cloth, take care of this right now, but I'm just going to stick this over here since we're on video. What I naturally am looking at this and what I want to do is add some other words to it.
Yes.
To describe it. So maybe I would get a white colored pencil. Maybe I would ask my child, what do you want to say about the fish? And then you could read this to them if they don't have an idea already. It's perfectly okay just to like rewrite what is already written.
Totally.
Or children, as you know, are probably going to come up with something fun. So they might want to name their fish. They might want to name it Mr. Blind Cavefish. or Harry. Or Harry, or whatever they want to do. But that makes the learning experience really come to life for children when they engage in it in an artistic way.
Yeah.
And then we're going to follow it up with a fun sensory deprivation meal activity.
So this first part is an extension. Again, if you are following along for this theme of the month and you're in cave, this is an original.
It's an original
outside
Montessori Power Hour.
See, this is a Power Hour extension. Join us every week.
Yes. I'm noticing now you could even cut out this picture of the fish. That would look really cool in the background as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, but if you want to stick to what's in the pack now, you would follow up or just start with
this sensory deprivation meal activity, which we are calling the blind cave fish meal activity. All right, so what I have here, David, if you want to switch us back into the forward view, what I have here for us is, what you don't know is that I have placed two different pieces of food inside this container. And because I know that you have been playing with the art materials, I know you're going to want to hop up and go rinse your hands off real fast.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to tell our friends while you're doing that, we'll be back in just 1 minute. There's some soap in there.
Okay.
Just because we don't want to mix art materials with food, all right? And I'm not going to be touching the food, so I'm going to stay here and talk to you for a minute. So all you really need is a blindfold. So when David gets back, I'm going to have him put on this blindfold and he's going to pretend to be the Mexican tetra fish. And while he's pretending to be the fish, I'm going to offer him a food that is inside one of these hidden selections. And I just have put a little piece of food that he's going to be able to pick up with his fingers from inside this little saucer. Okay, we ready? Are you ready? All right, come on back. You get to be the guinea pig. All right. Now, the only reason...
I brought an expert with me.
The only reason David has to do the activity is because I already know what's in here. It's going to be a complete surprise for him. He doesn't know. In fact, he's probably a little nervous about what he will discover. It's not cottage cheese, all right? I chose foods.
I do love cottage cheese.
I know, but you're not going to want to pick that up with your fingers. You're going to want to give your child finger food. All right, everybody. Wish David good luck.
I want you to help me.
Here we go. Okay, so what you're going to do is I'm revealing the food for option number 1 right now. This is so fun. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to let our friends know what the food is, but you're not going to know. Okay, so I'm going to write the word of food number 1 on this paper. David promises that he is not looking. Okay, this, friends, is food number 1. Okay, everybody got that? All right, and here is food number 2. All right, here's food number 2. Are we good? Okay, so all right, I'm gonna hide those so that David can't see. And I'm gonna offer him food number 1. All right, and I'm gonna have you take your fingers and you're gonna pick it up. How does it feel?
Well, kind of slimy at first, but less so now
Less slimy.
than I imagined. Now oh, okay.
Smell it? Mm-hmm. Okay, and what does it smell like?
Smells like a banana.
Okay, but describe it.
Oh. Well, have you ever smelled a banana? It's similar to that. No. You know, it's sweet.
It's sweet.
And floral.
Uh-huh.
There's creaminess for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now you're getting it.
And
Okay, here is your second food.
is it another banana?
No. Describe it.
It feels like a
Don't guess what it is, just describe.
yeah. It feels kind of like a pyramid shape. It's kind of like
Were you gonna say plastic?
Well, it feels smooth, very smooth. Except for here, it's rough on this side. It's very, very smooth on this side.
Okay.
And on this side, each side is a little.
And sniff. And then describe. And think about, like, does it smell kind of salty or sweet or sour or bitter?
It smells, I guess salty, a little salty.
All right, and now eat it. And how does it taste? Oh, how does it taste?
Delicious.
Yeah.
It tastes, there's a little saltiness to it. It tastes a lot of umami.
Yeah.
I think it must be cheese.
All right, take your blindfold off. So the first one that I gave you was banana.
Ooh.
I think you were, it seemed like you were kind of feeling it with your fingers and you had kind of an
Yes,
interesting
when I
reaction.
first, no, I didn't expect, I did not expect to feel a banana.
You didn't.
It was a surprise.
It's a surprise.
I mean, I knew that you would not give me something crazy, but it was sort of strange.
I mean, we have been married a long time. You do trust me.
I do.
Yes. Yeah, I could have given you the cottage cheese, but no. Licking that off your fingers. But if you have a child at home and you want to give them all kinds of
What was that other one?
foods, oh, it was cheese. It was Swiss cheese.
Oh, I didn't guess that.
You didn't?
No, I just knew it was cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet your kids will love doing that because I did. And now in the actual activity,
And it's something you can do over and over too. It's not
yeah.
just something that you can do once. You could keep that blindfold at the kitchen at like a family meal, and all of you could take turns. And then like maybe the next day it's the next person's time to try. Now, if your child is nervous to try the food and doesn't want to, obviously don't make them. I recommend that you model it for them first. And what David and I usually do is we do it just like we did for you. We would model that activity with each other, and then our children would see that it's not scary and it's fun, and they, after witnessing that modeling, they'll usually join in.
that's right. And you know, Harry, you were not very helpful, but at least you tried. He told me that first one was a papaya.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that right? Well, that is a big fish story.
The
All
world's
right.
biggest papaya, in
Well,
fact.
friends, that's where we're wrapping up for today. I hope that you go and enjoy those activities and explore and have a lot of fun with Montessori.
Yeah, that's right. And if you want to know more about our work, head over to our website, childoftheredwoods.com, and you can find us online often. If you use that chat feature, you can also email us at hello@childoftheredwoods.com, or you can even just leave a comment here on the video.
Yep. All right. Talk to you all soon.
See you soon.
Thanks for joining.
Okay, bye.